Welcome to The Outlet, where we keep you plugged in to everything energy. To lead the charge, here's your host, Tom Glanzer.
Welcome back to The Outlet. It is Tom Glanzer, your host here at NorthWestern Energy. I'm sitting in the Huron, South Dakota office and in Sioux Falls, South Dakota right now. Probably the guy that knows me the best. I would probably say if I had to tell one person where the body was buried, it would be Paul Mantz. And Paul is economic development professional with us. He takes care of South Dakota, Montana, our key accounts. So when you think about key accounts, you think about the big super users, the guys that use a lot of energy. And that is Paul's domain, as well as the economic development side of things. And Paul and I have been working together for, was it 3 months now?
Yeah, just getting started, right?
Yeah. I think for the first 4 years of your career, I was like, have you been here a year or two? What year did you start?
I've been here 8 years, so what is that, 2017?
2017, yeah. So Paul and I naturally have just started, just doing everything together. My work goes into his work goes into my work, to the point where internally some folks have called us Manser. That is our combined name. And we're not sure if they say it in love or with a grumble underneath their breath when they say it, but we're aware of the fact that our colleagues also have us joined together at the hip. So, Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Tom. Looking forward to it.
No, you're not. You talked to me yesterday. You're like, do we really have to do this? How many questions are you going to ask me? What are we going to talk about? Paul, probably out of all the guests we've had on the outlet now, Paul is the one that asked me for the most pre-show information. So that just tells you the preparedness of Paul and how he goes about things. So, Paul, give us a little background on yourself. You've got a pretty sweet history of work and things of that nature, some overseas studies. Just give us the full rundown and we'll all be amazed.
Sure. I don't know about that, but I've had some good opportunities here. Like you said, I'm our manager of National Accounts and Economic Development. So, work on economic development on our key account work in South Dakota, Nebraska, and then do national accounts, which, are companies like Walmart and Costco, Target, stuff like that have a footprint across our whole service territory. My journey, I guess you'd say, to the utility industry is kind of interesting. I went to school, University of Minnesota, Duluth. I was a history and geography undergraduate major, and then went to grad school at SDSU to study political geography. I wanted to go work for the government and do kind of, intelligence work and stuff like that. So moved out to Washington, D.C., did that for a while, and then eventually transitioned from that to working on the Senate Energy Committee. And that's when I got to know more about, obviously utilities and stuff as they'd come out and visit with us, particularly from South Dakota. So eventually made my way back and got hired from on the co-op organization, and then made my way over to NorthWestern. So it's been good. Been here for about 8 years. What else did you say? Oh, you asked me about international stuff too. I got very lucky. Got to do some study abroad in Italy. And then with SDSU, I also got to do some study abroad stuff in Romania, Bulgaria, and just a sliver of Ukraine. So I got to see some cool places.
And most recently, you graduated from?
I did a master's degree in sustainability from Harvard through their extension school. So it was a really cool program. I'm glad I put a plug in for NorthWestern Energy for helping support me financially through that. A great program the company offers there too. So it was really interesting and learned a lot for sure.
He did this with 2 daughters in tow and a beautiful wife that takes care of everything. Paul also loves to travel extensively. Paul's the one that tries to fill up my weekends. Like, hey, a bunch of us are going here. Do you want to do this? A bunch of us are going here. We should do this. And I'm in that mode in life where I'm like, wow, a weekend on the couch sounds great. But Paul keeps me active, so I appreciate that about him. Also, just Madison, South Dakota. They've got a lake place out there, and just great. He's got some bird dogs, hunter, just a typical dude you'd find in South Dakota. And everybody that runs into Paul is always just super super complimentary of Paul and his abilities, and we're blessed to have him on our team. I'm blessed to get to work with the guy every day. Basically a check-in almost every day. It's not too often that we go a day without talking to each other or running through each other with something. So that's where Paul sits in my world. He's probably my number one as far as who I get to work with and who I put my trust in just on our internal work together. With that, let's just kind of start with the economic development side of your job. I don't think a lot of people probably think the utility is actively out there trying to help maybe what our states are doing. The Montana economic developments of the world, the Nebraskas, the South Dakota economic development. Our local customers and our state, we're actively out there trying to move the needle as far as bringing businesses into the state. And probably one of the biggest eye-openers that I received working with Paul was we would go out to Chicago for a Midwest economic developers meeting, and we would meet with some pretty heavy site selector type folks. And they always, one of them actually said something that just stuck with me. Is like, I never really think about South Dakota, Montana, Nebraska. I just kind of think of that as flyover country. And that's probably a hurdle we always are going to have to jump. But how do you go about trying to get that level of folks to even pay attention to where we're at?
Yeah, I mean, we're not the most populated states there are, so we have a little bit of challenges there. But certainly, I think we're seeing some increased interest around our service territory. Some big ways we do reach out, is attending lots of national conferences. You mentioned the one in Chicago and so forth. So we go to a number of those, try and highlight, South Dakota, Nebraska, Montana to people like that. Show them why it's a good place to live, a good place to locate a company, and they'll get a lot of support from our state governments and local economic development organizations and so forth. So. Our partnerships with our local economic development organizations, think of every town has an economic development corporation. That's a big component of it. They help us do lots of reach out. They obviously want to grow their communities and bring, good companies are going to have good jobs for people who live there to visit with. And then, certainly our partnerships with our state economic development organizations are huge too. We, do lots of reach out. With particularly South Dakota GOED and Nebraska and stuff like that, trying to highlight our service territory to site selectors who are looking on a national or even international scale sometimes. And then, finally, Tom, we have our regional economic development organization called Advantage South Dakota. That's a partnership of our local economic development organizations, all the way down from Yankton, South Dakota, up to Aberdeen, South Dakota, and over to Chamberlain. So. Maybe because we are a little smaller state population-wise, we partner on a regional scale to have each one of those communities be a member, and the NorthWestern Energy kind of facilitates this group called Advantage South Dakota to kind of make us, a little bigger organization to do lots of our reach out and collaborate regionally on, different obstacles associated with economic development.
And that also, and if you look at Advantage South Dakota, I'll just talk to that one point. That's a pretty interesting group. This is all the economic development professionals that are in our service territory that have a full-time or somewhat full-time economic developer, and they will go into meetings and share what they're trying to do with, almost their competition. And we get the chance on a somewhat quarterly basis to touch base with all of our economic development professionals to see where they're at, what's going wrong, provide them with some development opportunities as well. We have some grants that go out, and these folks can go to some things probably that they weren't going to have the budget for prior to us being involved. So pretty interesting concept. We also, Paul's brainchild, and Paul's 100% the driver behind this, and I just get along for the ride. But this year, very successfully, we started a energy summit. In August. We held that at Mitchell Tech, and we're already planning for next year. Just talk to that a little bit. What was the mindset behind that? And just talk to some of the people that we did get in and kind of some of the things we covered.
Yeah. So in 2025, we kind of had our first energy summit. The idea there is that energy is becoming a bigger and bigger focus as, growth is going to demand new generation, stuff like that. We got some really good people to participate from state government, federal government. We had Representative Dusty Johnson there. We had our CEO Brian Bird presenting on different trends in the industry and stuff like that. And a big goal there too was also just kind of educate some of our economic development partners and stuff like that, what's going on in the energy industry, what kind of things they can learn about from us and other energy companies, to be prepared to talk to potential companies that are looking at their community and stuff like that. So went really well. We really appreciate everyone who participated, and we're looking to make it even bigger in 2026 and kind of shift that around our service territory.
Yeah, I think you look at some of the names that have already popped up that we're trying to look at. It's one of those things where I don't think many people are going to want to miss this one. We had close to 100-ish folks there at the first event.
I think we were just over 100, yeah.
Just over 100. Obviously, Mitchell Tech is a great setting for that, with kind of the future workforce of energy. And when you talk about energy and you talk about key accounts and involving the public in what you're doing, there's three things usually that, probably four if you bring in land, but there's four things that when you try to get a business to come somewhere, there's four things that are intangibles. Land is one, obviously. Two would be water, which we have really no control over. Natural gas, electricity. And natural gas and electricity are probably the drivers on a lot of those things. Water, probably a little bit more of a driver on some of them, just because you can kind of place this wherever. It's just a water supply. But let's just throw data centers in there because it's really sexy right now. Data centers, if we would get a 300 megawatt used data center, which would be a small one, that would double our investment, or double our size of load in South Dakota. How do you prepare for something like that? Sometimes Paul and I get way in front of the horse, and then folks in the engineering side tell us, that's not possible. But we have to be prepared, and we have to be thinking about that future, and how do you approach your job with that, while also understanding what the need of the company is, what the need of just our residential customers as well.
Yeah, and data centers are certainly popular, and for good reason. Tom, we work with other large customers too, who are looking at areas around our service territory, whether it's value-added ag or manufacturing or something like that. So, to be prepared for that, I think first was something we've kind of already touched on, is our relationships with economic development organizations, local and state level. We got to be prepared and locked in with them to engage customers. And then, looking at things like available sites where there's land available that might be close to our infrastructure, or, areas where we could build generation that would be helpful. If you're looking at, like the large data center, so forth, it's probably going to require some new generation to be built. And so, working on that and finding areas where we can accommodate things like that is certainly important. And then, something else, Tom, that we've dealt with recently since kind of COVID is being ahead of the curve on the logistical and lead time challenges. So being ready for that, those are kind of some of the main things that come to mind.
Yeah, if you're trying to order a transformer for tomorrow, it's not going to be here for maybe 2 years. That is, if you can even get it onto your queue with the transformer provider. It's that sort of stuff just used to be just kind of readily available, and now since 2020, it honestly is a very big planning game. We've got some big projects. There's an Aberdeen generating station that's just starting to be in the works right now, gas-fired plant. And that thing has been in the plan for quite a while, and obviously there's some orders that are probably already being developed, and we haven't even broke ground yet. Another one I think of is the West Park substation, just west of here in South Dakota, doing a total rebuild on one of our backbone substations in the state, and that one breaks ground in 2026. And honestly, a lot of that stuff was pre-ordered, and you just have to have your ducks in a row when it comes to development and kind of knowing what the future is. Talk about,
and Tom, we also,
go ahead.
talking about things that have become a little different recently in the economic development world, and maybe business development too, and that NorthWestern Energy helps out with quite a bit. I think is our workforce. You have to have people to work at companies, even if they don't have a ton, and that's been an area, especially in kind of the upper Midwest, where unemployment rates are very low. So we've worked with our communities on growing and reskilling in some instances the workforce, and then housing as well. And we've certainly partnered with our economic development organizations to address that.
And don't forget the one major concept: if you bring in people and they need houses, what else do they need? And you're right in the middle of this. They need childcare. So
yep, absolutely.
Childcare is one of those things that us with 16-year-old daughters don't think about, as that's my youngest. And I always tell Paul, he's got young daughters, and I'm always telling him, by the way, it gets worse. And then it'll get better, and then it'll get worse again. But Paul's basically resigned to the fact there's always going to be pink lint in his dryer, and probably a lot of money that just goes out the door to hair care products, makeup, and clothes. So just preparing you for that, Paul. I mean, that's the way it happens. Let's talk to key accounts a little bit. That's one of the side of the things that Paul brings me in on, some of the trips and the visits. Always interesting to see. Sometimes you just drive by a building all your life and you have no idea what's done in there. Some of the key accounts that we have throughout Montana and South Dakota and Nebraska, just very interesting. And I don't know if you want to just pull out a couple of examples of the impact that some of those key accounts have and the driver that we are in their business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our large accounts are all over the place, different industries and stuff that are contributing to your everyday life that you don't think about a lot. That can be, things like transportation fuels. We certainly work to supply energy to ethanol, biofuel producers. Out in Montana, we work with oil refineries and stuff like that. So, it's definitely something that's influencing your life every day there. And then manufacturing is another kind of large customer segment for us. Everything from aviation parts to, food that you're eating every day. So, one that really sticks out to me, well, there's a number that do that every day, that we certainly eat in my house that we supply energy to. I got Jack Link's beef jerky up there near Huron, Bell Brands, and Brookings makes those cheese wheels that are so popular. In Nebraska, we have McCain Foods that makes French fries and stuff like that. So it's products you're seeing every day that we get to supply energy to. There's many, many more customers like that I can mention, but just very interesting.
Some of the packaging of the most popular foods that you have is made right in Mitchell. I had no idea that. Even we walked in the door and I'm like, oh, those are in my those are in my pantry. Those are in my pantry. Just interesting stuff like that. That on the outside, I don't think a lot of people even really, unless you're doing the job. A place like Jack Link's, they're a very important customer of ours, and the 24/7 service of electricity to these businesses is paramount. And there's issues. It's the real world. Every once in a while, power is going to go out. Every once in a while, there's going to be something on the system that doesn't work, something on their end that needs to be adjusted. And Paul's the one that takes those calls. And that's not always the greatest day, but being able to satisfy those customers and make sure that they understand that they're taken care of is really the crux of your job. Especially in the area we live, Montana, South Dakota, Nebraska weather. Sometimes it's a challenge, but I feel like our service to those folks is incredible. And anytime you crack open a new bag of Jack Links, that probably originated right there in Alpena, South Dakota. So and we're part of the process. So same with the Baby Bell cheese and the cheese that's coming out and the dairies. Let's talk renewable and sustainable energy. That's a big deal. And a lot of these customers that are looking to come into South Dakota or that we're trying to lure into South Dakota, that's a big deal to them. And how are we a player in that game?
Yeah, absolutely. On the sustainability front, we certainly have to have every kind of electric generation playing a role to keep the grid up and going and stuff like that. But we've got certainly a notable amount of wind here in South Dakota. And then, in places like Montana within the company, we have hydro, which is super interesting. And so, when you look at kind of the overall picture of the utility industry, we're definitely one of the more sustainable companies. And then, something, Tom, that, we've been looking at more and more and gotten up and running is renewable natural gas, which is super interesting. For those who, maybe don't know what it is, it's basically taking methane from dairy operations waste there, and then cleaning it up a little bit, and then we can inject it into the pipeline as natural gas. So, really cool opportunity there to create some more value for dairy companies and stuff like that, and also take out some greenhouse gas emissions from those facilities and use them as energy for people. So, great story.
Paul gave you the PG version of renewable natural gas. We take cow manure and they put it in a digester, and we take the methane off of that. We don't scrub it, as Paul didn't probably allude to. It's not a physical thing that we do. It's scrubbed by machines and things like that. So we don't have to clean the manure or it's just one of those things that science does. And then they ship that, and we inject it right into our town border station. Actually, one of the first ones to go online was up by Brookings, just on the north side of the road, north side of town. And by the end of 26, I think we're saying 2/3 of our residential natural gas is going to be a renewable product. So with the influx of the dairies that are coming in, that's been a very interesting new service that's come online with us, and it doesn't cost us very much to get it in. The cost of the gas is basically a wash. So it also gives us a little independence as well from the market. So
yeah, and then works add some more capacity to the region as well, which is certainly welcomed.
Yeah, talk about future. Just kind of some things that are coming up that you're looking at as to like how NorthWestern Energy is going to be involved. I think you think of the data centers in Montana. You think of some of the growth that's happening here in South Dakota. What are some things that keep you awake at night, that keep you thinking, okay, we got to be on top of that?
Sure. So in the South Dakota and Nebraska portion of our service territory, I think biofuels are super interesting, and there's some growth opportunities there. They've been around for a while, but we're seeing more plants add some more capacity and stuff like that to produce more things like ethanol, sustainable aviation fuels, kind of a biofuel technology that you're hearing more and more about for demand for. So I think maybe that's a ways off, but certainly some opportunity there in our service territory to work on supplying sustainable fuels for companies like Delta and so forth and United that have big demands for it. So we'll see what happens there. Manufacturing has been growing as well throughout our service territory. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how things like reshoring impact that. An increased emphasis on making stuff here, and if that leads to a lot more opportunities as well. Value-added ag is always huge. We've touched on biofuels and so forth, dairy processing, different things like that. But I think that's going to just be an area that's going to continue to grow for our region and for the company. And then certainly data centers are, increasing part of the conversation and coming to fruition throughout our service territory a little bit too. So exciting stuff is happening for sure.
Well, we've piled all that into about 25 minutes. We'll get kind of wrapped up here, but I just want to give you a chance to just give us an update. I know a lot of guys that listen to this know you from the golf course. Paul and I spend a little bit of time on the golf course. Paul is my long driver. I don't have the drives I used to have, and so Paul has always had the drives he used to have. Until this year, he's kind of gone downhill a little bit. So surgery is coming up. He's getting to that point where he wakes up and maybe some body parts hurt that didn't hurt, but now we got shoulder surgery coming in. So probably not going to get the call from the Vikings to back up their quarterback mess. Obviously, your Packers are already set. So shoulder surgery coming up.
Yeah, middle of December, I got to take care of that. Tom, we love to golf, but I think maybe that's one of those instances where we're a good team because maybe on every hole, one of us hits a straight shot. So we pair well there, but definitely going to impact things coming up. I'm bummed. I'll have surgery in December and probably miss on a good portion of ski season and stuff like that too. But got to take care of it.
Yeah, together we can break 80 on any given course, really. But so that's just the fun part of this job that we do get out in the public a lot. When you think about NorthWestern Energy in South Dakota, I think a lot of people, you and I are the ones that they probably have the contact with, and I've always appreciated what you do for NorthWestern Energy, your background, your history, your knowledge. Your professionalism has always shown through. And South Dakota, Montana, the key accounts, economic development, we are lucky to have you along for the ride.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Definitely a great partnership, and look forward to continuing it.
Yeah, these are the nicest things I've said about Paul to his face. For the most part, I'm just chirping him on Snapchat or text messages back and forth with each other. So Paul will probably record this, save it on his hard drive, and hold this against me for the rest of my life. So these are the nicest things I've ever said about Paul.
Absolutely.
So, all right, that is Paul Mantz. He is the manager for National Key Accounts, Economic Development, South Dakota, Montana. He's company-wide. Things are only going to get more stressful and hectic for us in the coming years because you see the growth happening, absolutely. And good luck with the shoulder, good luck with the kids, and have a good winter, Paul.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. All right. Hey, that is another episode of The Outlet. Check us out online at www.northwesternenergy.com. If you have any questions, if you have an idea for a show, just feel free to reach out and let us know. We'll get anybody on that makes sense, obviously. Paul made sense, so we brought him on. I don't always make sense, but I'm the host of the show, so you're stuck with me. So that is another episode of The Outlet. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
That's a wrap on this week's episode of The Outlet. For more information and weekly energy updates, like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or visit northwesternenergy.com.